God has created, or you might want to think of it as allows or works through conflict.
Sure.
He's created conflicts in relationship as a way of restoring us to his original plan. There was a great conflict on the cross of Christ that was ultimately a good, well, very good. No, actually the best good, the best thing that's ever happened in human history.
Yeah.
That was God's eternal plan. He knew he was going to send Christ to the cross before he created Adam and Eve. He knew there would be the ultimate conflict to resolve us and him, our relationship with him,
Sure.
our relationships with each other. So we don't need to fear or avoid conflict, that anabolic good conflict. We need to embrace it as an opportunity for growth and healing and closeness in relationship and trust. In fact, without the conflict of the cross, we would have no relationship with God and really very little hope of true, vibrant, intimate relationships with other humans.
Welcome to the Everyday Disciple podcast, where you'll learn how to live with greater intentionality and an integrated faith that naturally fits into every area of life. In other words, discipleship as a lifestyle. This is the stuff your parents, pastors, and seminary professors probably forgot to tell you. And now, here's your host, Caesar Kalinowski.
Good to be with you, Heath.
Hey man, driving over today, saw something I haven't seen in about 10 months. 9 months, and it's 12 flags are starting to make appearances.
Yeah, it's almost, here we are entering into preseason.
Yeah.
Seahawks.
Which
Blue Thunder. Yeah.
I've lived a few places, and I don't know if there's a culture rage of sports in any of the other places. Like I was in San Diego and the Chargers were there, and people are kind of Chargers fans.
There are some
Tennessee.
cities that probably kick our butts when it comes to fan loyalty
Yeah.
and going nuts. But yeah, this is definitely Seahawks.
It's like
Wow.
gardens. You know, it's like watching flowers start to bloom. Now you've seen flowers.
I know not all of our listeners are into sports. I'm not Mr. Sports. I'm kind of into the Seahawks.
Yeah.
I didn't talk a whole lot about this last season of the Sea Wolves, but I do have to mention Sea Wolves, MLR, Major League Rugby, championship. My son and I flew down to San Diego for that game. Oh my gosh, the best ever. So if you're into rugby anyway, but yeah,
It's
you're
fun.
right. It's there's 12 flags all over the
Yeah.
place now.
People are gearing up. We have a whole new team this year. I wonder if there was conflict in the locker room at all. Is that the reason for it?
Oh man, preseason there is, because who gets cut, who's making it, who's
Yeah.
right, blah 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 blah. Like half the team is not half the team, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the guys have the big contracts, but a lot of the guys are on the bubbles.
Well, and we have so many professional football players that listen to this show that we're like, hey, this is the time of year we want to talk about conflict.
just a little shout out.
Stop calling me so much. This is annoying. Conflict, it is a part of life. We
Yep.
have all dealt with it, right? It comes in different forms, disagreements or frustrations or irritations or unmet expectations. Why do you think conflict arises? And do you think it's always a bad thing, or do you think it's necessary actually to move forward towards growth in relationships?
I love conflict, brother.
Oh, me too.
I do. No, I shouldn't say it. I don't hate conflict. I know
Yeah.
some people are like, oh, I hate conflict. I have to avoid conflict.
That's what I say. I'm not afraid of it when I have to address it. Like,
And I think overarching, it's like conflict is not necessarily bad. It's what you do with it. That's right. Because I like to change the word conflict to friction in my
Okay.
mind. And like friction's a good thing. Without friction, you can't walk. You can't move forward. Your car wouldn't roll. Without friction, sex wouldn't feel good.
Yeah.
Without friction, you couldn't pick up food on your fork. Friction's not a
Yeah, it's
bad thing,
necessary, yeah.
but it can also be used in bad ways. So when we hear the word conflict, though, it's usually and pretty automatically perceived as a negative thing. Well, if it's negative, let's avoid it, right? However, the truth of the matter is that conflict can be either a positive or a negative thing. And I'm going to maybe make the case for there's more positive to it than negative coming up here. Therefore, not all conflict needs to be resolved. How about that? Not all conflict needs to be resolved. The key really is understanding the difference.
Okay.
So I was doing a little bit of research on this, and collaborative justice writer, there's not a term you hear all the time, and professional mediator Ken Johnson helped me better frame the two types of conflict that we experience.
Okay.
And I was going to say, buckle up. This gets deep, but it's really insightful and helpful.
Okay.
So the bad kind of conflict that everyone knows and loathes is known by conflict management professionals as catabolic conflict. Okay. Now, catabolic, we've maybe heard that word used other words. Catabolism from the Greek word kato means downward, and then balin, to throw. So this catabolic means to set up pathways that breaks down, that goes down. So this type of conflict is usually typified by chronic and unresolved issues of confusion.
Okay.
That's what I've learned from Ken. Role identity, communication, imbalances of power and duties. Think about perceived injustice issues around the world. Is there conflict, racial tension? Yeah. A history of improperly handled disputes, feeling excluded, etc.
As you're talking about that, I'm thinking this sounds so much like the work of our enemy, Satan, right? Confusion, deception, destruction, exclusion.
Yep.
It just sounds like all of his attributes in one.
Right. So that's the bad kind of conflict. And you see the things it comes from. Now, by contrast, good conflict, which is known as anabolic conflict, is rarely talked about. Even in most professional circles, I found out. Anabolic conflict is typified by open discourse, honesty, investigation, and introspection of key processes and those involved, acceptance of diverse ideas, collaboration, right?
Yeah.
Think about last time you collaborated and went well. Was there any conflict? Was there differences of ideas?
Absolutely.
Yeah. But, right, that was a good thing. That's how you came to the best.
You needed it.
So to better understand, anabolic processes tend toward building up. So if you go to the root of all that, the anabolic processes build up. These processes produce growth. So see, not all conflict's bad. Some of it produces growth. The problem with conflict is that the two types, these anabolic and catabolic, good and bad, usually run counterintuitive to us, okay, in our inherent and emotional state as humans. So anabolic conflict, the good kind, it's in your face and it's open.
Yeah.
Catabolic conflict, by contrast, the bad kind, it's very subtle and it may take a long time to grow and show itself. So therefore, human nature is to sort of squash the conflict that's most apparent because it's in your face and you got to talk about it and it's ongoing, the good kind, and we sort of adjust to the subtle conflict that no one can quite put their finger on. It's that bad old catabolic type. Okay.
It's interesting though, right? Because you kind of view it in a sense, like as you're saying that, I'm thinking about even cholesterol. Like it's all bad. Like no, you actually have to have good cholesterol because
you need it.
Die without it. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
And so typically, though, even just a word is such a dirty word. It's like, there's conflict in our marriage. There's conflict in it. It's like, well, that's not always a terrible thing. It actually is necessary to move forward.
Yeah, and don't miss it that it's counterintuitive to us. The kind that's good, the kind that's, to go back to his definition, the kind that's typified by open discourse, honesty, introspection, acceptance of diversity of ideas, having to collaborate with people. We tend to avoid that and squash that because, it takes effort. Yeah. But then we'll embrace the kind that sort of lurks and it's over time and it's about exclusion and,
I get that, man.
Chronic and confusing. And we'll just let that simmer, right? So.
I think one lie that was raised up thinking is that, man, when two people are happy or when a community's happy or there's a bunch of Christians together, there's never going to be a disagreement. And then you go work for a church and you go, well, it's not
or
always
get married or have a child that you love and they love you,
Yeah, it's always going to happen. So even every missional community that I've been a part of has had some conflict, good, bad. And that's what you get, right? When you enter in a mix with a bunch of people that are different than you, they've got different preferences, priorities.
Yeah.
I mean, it's bound to happen. And it seems like it should be expected. Do you think there are ways to actually get in on the front end of conflict before it gets to be this?
What do you mean by get in on the front end?
Like to chop it before, can you actually start handling things on the front end before you?
I don't know. I don't think so, actually. I don't think there's, because then now you're trying to guess at what people think.
Okay.
And how they might respond.
Yeah.
I won't bring it up because it could be, they might think differently than me. So I don't know. I don't think so. I think maybe that's actually runs counter to God's plans, believe it or not. Conflict presents us with the best opportunities for discipleship. Think about it, because it pushes on and it rubs our most selfish, confused, fearful selves. Conflict does. Why? He said we're leaving at 7. I don't want to leave at 7. I want to wait till 8. I don't want to get so early. Right?
Yeah.
That's conflict. But some people are like, well, I guess we'll just could we discuss it? Yeah. So conflict shines an immediate light on our unbelief, our pride, like you already said, preference. God has created, or you might want to think it as allows or works through conflict.
Sure.
He's created conflicts in relationship as a way of restoring us to his original plan. There was a great conflict on the cross of Christ that was ultimately a good, well, very good. No, actually, the best good, the best thing that's ever happened in human history.
Yeah.
That was God's eternal plan. He knew he was going to send Christ to the cross before he created Adam and Eve. He knew there would be the ultimate conflict to resolve us and him, our relationship with him,
Sure.
our relationships with each other. So we don't need to fear or avoid conflict, that anabolic good conflict. We need to embrace it as an opportunity for growth and healing and closeness in relationship and trust. In fact, without the conflict of the cross, we would have no relationship with God and really very little hope of true, vibrant, intimate relationships with other humans.
So can you maybe give us some ideas or some steps for resolving a current conflict that's happening now, like either in your community or between you and another person? Maybe shed the light into something personally going on with you right now?
But it's going on. It's
Yeah,
a going on
right
thing.
now.
Yeah. So remember from our definition and understanding of the anabolic or good type of conflict, it's typified by open discourse. That means talk.
Yeah.
That means like something came up, there's a difference of opinion, there's a misunderstanding, I'm not clear, whatever. There's so quote conflict. And so it's now going to be dealt with open discourse. It's because it's going on. It's now. Like keep short accounts, right? Don't go to bed on your anger, that kind of thing.
Sure.
Honesty. Don't hide what you're thinking. Be honest about, I don't know if I agree with that. I don't like that. I'm not sure if I'd see it that same way. I'm not sure if everybody would, right? Honest.
Yep.
Investigation and introspection of other people's processes and ideas. Like what led you to think that?
Yeah, how'd you
What did
get
I
there?
say that, like I'm not pushing on you, bro. I'm just saying, what did I say that took you there,
Sure.
right? Acceptance of diverse ideas. I once had somebody say to me, Caesar, can there be two ideas in the room at the same time? Like yours and anybody else's? Like, could someone else have a different opinion or an idea? Right?
turn the other
They were
cheek.
teaching me something about, and collaboration. So if it's going on now, it's going to take open discourse. You need to be honest about your opinion, how you feel about it. Like I'm owning my thing in this, investigating of others' processes. How did you go there? Or what did I do to tip you into that? Like I love you and I don't want that to be the case.
Sure.
I don't want to speak in ways that you sense this or feel unloved or whatever, right?
Man, one thing, just even now as you're talking, I'm thinking that if me or if you or anyone who's listening is not living really with the belief that they're already loved and accepted by God now and forever perfectly, it would be really hard to, or maybe even impossible to even have some of these conversations, right? To actually engage dialogue in this way.
That's right. And I think that's why the good kind of conflict can become the old kind that's stuffed away and hidden away.
Sure.
And it's not resolved. It's chronic.
Yep.
It's like, it's always the same thing. That's because we've never really discussed it. I've never been honest. I've always wore a mask, or I've said what I think you wanted to say because I just wanted to get out of the conflict or whatever. And you're right. And you're nailing it, because if we don't believe that we're accepted and God loves us perfectly, we'll never, quote, risk being honest and getting into a conversation and looking for actually like, hey, this is an opportunity for growth, for change, for me to grow closer to you, because now I'm gonna seek to understand, and I'm gonna grow because of that. And you know what? God probably, in fact, maybe always brings about this, quote, conflict to point out where we're not like Christ and that he's working on us. I talk about this in marriage counseling all the time, and I just did some pre-marriage counseling. I said, the things about your spouse or future spouse or whatever that bug you the most are the parts of your life that are not like Christ. The things that you still hold too tight, or you're, really prideful about, or you think you're, and so that God's, because in his love for you, built that into your spouse.
Yeah.
Like they're not that way because it's a flaw. They're that way because you're flawed and God's sanding on you.
Yeah. It's like a magnifying glass on yourself.
But you won't go in there if you don't believe you're loved.
Yeah.
So your love makes us bulletproof.
That is true, dude. And this seems to be like universal advice, right? Not just in a specific sphere, but it's every sphere. You got marriage, you got parenting, social media, which is a huge one, friendships, working relationships. Like this advice. Like you said, this transcends all spheres.
Yeah, because if you have any other human around you, the only way to avoid all this is live isolated. And guess what a lot of people do? And we hide behind, like, well, I'm just introverted. Like, no, you really want to avoid conflict at all great costs, because you might be changed by. You might have to admit you're not God, or you might have to engage in a dialogue or a discourse.
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's talk about something that I can actually say, even in my own life, has caused a lot of hurt. And that's, we've talked a little bit about current conflict. Let's shed the light backwards towards the past and talk about resolving conflicts and moving towards some relief and restoration from conflict that maybe has come from a hurt in a relationship many years ago. What would you say to that?
Okay. Well, many of the same tools, I think, apply here. Okay. But there's a difference. So some of the same tools of time and open discourse and honesty and investigation and acceptance of ideas and seeking other perspectives, that still applies. Mm-hmm. But when it happened years ago, or is really well-worn and stuffed under the rug kind of thing,
sure,
here you're going to have to first start off by bringing up the conflict. Right away, think about it like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
To resolve the conflict, I have to bring up conflict,
it back up?
which feels like it is conflict. Yeah. Okay. Which, it feels like a huge conflict in and of itself. So definitely start by praying and asking God for words and the timing.
Sure.
So it's like, hey, I haven't seen this person in a really long time, well-worn conflict. I'm at a birthday party. Happy birthday to you. Know what, man? I've always, it's like, that's probably not the time, right? So ask God for that. Start from a place of humility and honesty. Like if there's conflict, there is no conflict from one person. It's always two.
Yeah.
It's not a blame issue. If you want to resolve conflict, it's not about blame placement. So start from a place of humility and honesty. Speak in me terms. Avoid you did this or said this or, when you did, don't start there.
Yeah.
Now, if a person asks a question, you can what did I say that led you to believe that? You can say, well, when you said this, but don't start, don't point fingers, right? The old school, like when you point your finger, there's 4 pointing back, right?
Yeah. We use the one I use a lot is the clarifying question of help me to understand. That's a good question. Hey man,
that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, help me understand what you meant here.
That's a great place to start out, right?
Yeah.
Remember, the bad type of conflict, the catabolic, is usually typified by chronic and unresolved issues. Now, how does something go unresolved? Because we loved self more than the other person.
Sure.
So we didn't go there. Confusion over sometimes our role or, our identity. Communication issues. Communication generally at the core of these things.
Sure.
Imbalances of power and duties. So think about it like, in a relationship, do you feel like a person always has it over on you? There's no way. I can remember when I was a kid and, much of the way my dad would parent there's no asking any kind of a question because I said. There was this imbalance of power that was so perceived and so strong that there was no use trying. And so certain issues just never got talked about, never got resolved. Right?
Yep.
And so, but as always, I have to say that the behind every conflict lives a series of lies and unbelief.
Yep.
And we talk about it almost on every episode.
Almost every episode, yeah.
And getting to that and replacing that with the truth about God and ourselves and how we get to live, that's always the goal. It's always the goal. That's what discipleship is, and that's what we've been called to do and why we're on the planet, and how we experience the kingdom of heaven now. It's here. Yeah. So, people, we sing songs and we pray and worship. We can't wait for heaven. Oh my God, I can't wait for Jesus to get back so I'll get to heaven. Jesus said the kingdom is now.
Start entering into it. Yeah.
Enter into it, right? How do you enter into it? You resolve conflict. You live open. You live freely. So with back to your question a little bit.
Yeah.
What do you do with old hurts and past relationships? Guess what? You're going to actually have to enter into that conflict. You have to bring it up and you have to listen and you have to start from a place of humility. All the things that Jesus is.
Yeah.
And came to be and do. We get to be and do.
I would encourage people listening to this episode, if they feel like there's something going on in their heart about this, I would say the flip side of this coin is also episode 115, where we talk about how to move from forgiveness to reconciliation. Because reconciliation does take two parties. It's easy to go forgive them. I mean, how often does that happen where you're like, I know there's tension here, but you know what? That's cool. I don't want to enter into it. I just forgave him. You're like, well, conflict isn't resolved, and reconciliation still hasn't happened.
That's right. And I kept bumping up against that too. I was like, oh, we cover so much of that in there. So I would say if you're listening to this and you're going, this is helpful, but I need to go further.
Yeah.
Go listen to episode 513, take you to the next page, the next chapter of this. So
one of the things that gives me hope in just discussing it here on this episode is that it does appear that resolving conflict in relationships, not only is the pressure valve in some of our friendships and relationships, but it also it does point forward to this kingdom that is coming where conflict will just be a thing of the past. Don't you think so?
I do.
It's a foretelling of the good kingdom.
We see Jesus, his life and he's the way he is with people, and you're going like, that's what the kingdom's going to be like. And he's healing people, and that's what the kingdom's going to be like. There's no more sickness or death or pain. And he's feeding people who don't have enough, and he's undoing injustices, and he's treating the least like the best. And the kingdom is like a banquet where the forgotten and the downtrodden get seated right up front, and given the best food and the best robe, right?
Yeah.
And so as we believe that God has given us conflict so that we can be conformed to the image of Christ, which makes it a good thing, and he modeled that on the cross, our entering into conflict and listening and loving and trusting and resolving shows people like, oh, there is hope.
Yeah.
And guess what? There is a day, like you said, there is a day coming where there'll be no more conflict.
Yeah.
It'll all be put away.
Isn't that exciting? Like,
oh, it's so great.
We'll never be like, hey, Jesus says dinner's served, and it's like,
but don't hide out under a rock until then, waiting for that day, because part of what it means to be the chosen, the elect, is that we get to live that now.
Yeah.
We get to. Oh,
it's so
such
free.
Good news, man.
I love it, man. And what a beautiful, like I've said this before, some of the best avenues for mission between relationships of people that don't yet know Jesus in our neighborhood have been people watching the way that me and other Jesus followers deal with conflict.
Absolutely, it is.
They go
Absolutely
like, what is it about you guys that you guys?
Because it's
you
a
guys
stark
fight all the
contrast
time.
to the world and turn on the news and how politicians deal with everything. And it's a stark contrast, and we get to.
Yeah, we don't pass blame and run away. We enter into it.
Yeah, it's
so it's amazing, man. Okay, so let's get to the big three. Again, the big three are the takeaways that we want you to have, like, right here, right now. If you get nothing else out of this episode, we'd love for you to get the big three, and you can get those for free. All you have to do is go to everydaydisciple.com/big three. Caesar, what would you say the big three are for this week?
I wonder if people just fast forward to this sometimes.
Yeah.
Just listen.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
They're just like, we're going to get the printout.
Anyway, the big three, here's the first one. Start by determining if the conflict that you're experiencing is good or bad conflict. Bad conflict is usually, again, typified by ongoing and unresolved issues of confusion or identity, communication problems, imbalance of power or duties. But the good, the beneficial type of conflict will be current. It'll be collaborative. People with different opinions or desires will all be working toward a common ground and a solution. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
That's how we get conformed. That's how we have our unbelief and selfishness and pride and, our preferences and all that stuff get pointed out. And so it's good. Second, God has created conflict in relationship as a way of restoring us. I know some people say he doesn't create conflict. He sent his son to die on a cross to wage the greatest war against sin and death ever, right? When Jesus came as our God taking on flesh among his humanity that he created, he was entering into conflict. He was on a conflict mission, Jesus took our sin and conflict upon himself, and you know what? Our sin and conflict died and was buried with him, never to be seen again. That is good news.
Yeah.
And then he rose to new eternal life. And we can have that life free of conflict and enjoying close relationships too. That's, like we said, that's living on earth as it is in heaven.
It reminds me, even if you just said Jesus took our sin and conflict upon himself, and I'm thinking, man, and then he says, come and follow me. And you go like, wow, we get to be reflections of that as well.
Oh, so good. So good. All right. Third of the big three. When entering into conflict, be open to dialogue and honesty and acceptance of others' ideas and perspectives. Remember that your identity is not being attacked if someone has a different opinion.
Yep.
An issue or difference of opinion is being resolved. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
And for older, unresolved conflict that has damaged relationships, start from a place of humility. Try to own whatever part of the issue that you can.
Yep.
Seek to forgive the other person or parties, and then seek their forgiveness as well. All of that before trying to resolve the issue.
Yeah.
Right? And again, I just want to point out that episode 115, How to Move from Forgiveness to Reconciliation, is sort of like where we should go next in this conversation. But time is about up, so there you go.
Unfortunately. Again, you get the big three from this week, the takeaways, by going to everydaydisciple.com/big three. You'll get them right away.
Hey, join us on Facebook, would you?
Yeah.
I want to see more and more people. I don't know, we several hundred on there, but I'd love to see, I don't know, like I love everybody to get on there. Like I know you all like follow your Facebook and all that. So if like any of this is found interesting, get on there, and then you'll start to you'll be able to join us in a few other conversations. Find the Everyday Disciple podcast on there, hit join, and we'll do that, and you'll be with us, and the thing will get bigger and better.
Yeah, and if you haven't left us a review on iTunes yet, we love reviews and we love stars. And what that does is it lets iTunes know that, hey, this was a podcast that we should tell other people about.
Yeah, I don't know if people notice we read the reviews.
Yeah.
Or some of them, most of them.
When they
try
come
to read
in,
them
yeah.
all. And you're gonna get your review read, your name, your little minor fame here on the old podcast.
You'll be an internet sensation. Next week's show is going to be so fun that I don't think we should even
It's a
give.
super secret episode.
Yeah, we're not even going
I'm
to.
not even gonna tell you about it. You're just gonna have to join us. Be amazed.
Thanks for joining us today. For more information on this show and to get loads of free discipleship resources, visit everydaydisciple.com. And remember, you really can live with the spiritual freedom and relational peace that Jesus promised every day.